Hello, I'm Susan Douglas, and I'm going to talk to you about inclusive assessment. Teach inclusively. Using inclusive pedagogies in an inclusive learning environment, then it follows that we need to assess learning inclusively as well. Traditionally, assessment is usually a test or examination that is the same for everyone, taken at the end of a period of learning. It's an assessment of learning, often called summative assessment. Exams are seen as an efficient way to track how students are doing at national and international level. So most education systems build in arrangements for students with special educational needs that makes their access to them as fair as possible. For example, giving extra time or allowing a reader or scribe. However, as you can see from the picture, it's difficult for summative assessment to take account of learners' differences. There is another form of assessment that fits more closely with inclusive values and practice. This is called Assessment for Learning, or AFL for short. AFL is an everyday process that happens all the time in classrooms. It can be informal and fast, as well as more formal and longer. AFL is often described as formative assessment because it helps to shape what happens next in learning and is focused on growth and development. It does this by helping teachers and learners think clearly about what the learner knows now, what their next goals need to be, and what they need to do to reach those goals. These goals are personal to the learner, rather than being shared by everyone and tested at the same time. Knowing them and the steps towards them helps learners to build their motivation, skills and confidence, which also helps them achieve in summative assessments. AFL is naturally more inclusive than summative assessment because learners are fully involved in the process. It can also be differentiated to give learners variety and choice, which we know are important for including all learners in the classroom. So let's look at a few ways of differentiating AFL, beginning with some quick and easy ideas. For checking understanding about a concept, for example, you could ask the class to show you their thumbs. Thumbs up for I understand, halfway for I'm not sure, and thumbs down for I don't understand. Or you could ask everyone to write or draw an answer to a question on a piece of paper or small board and hold it up so you can see. For a quick formative assessment of an individual paper-based task, you could ask learners to draw one of 3 faces on the paper, with a smiling mouth if they are confident about their understanding, straight mouth if they are still a bit unsure, and frowning mouth if they are still finding things difficult. Any of these strategies will give you a quick overview of the class's understanding and allow you to notice and check in with individuals who may be finding things difficult. When you are designing a more in-depth AFL approach to assess a bigger piece of learning, you might want to start with the following questions, which can become a natural part of your planning. How can my learners show what they have learned? Can everyone in the class show their learning? Remember, we are talking about differentiation here, so we can think about variety and choice. There is no reason why every learner has to show how they have reached a learning outcome in the same way. Let's take a simple example. Say the difference between the present and simple past tenses. To show that learners have understood this and can use it correctly, they could choose to create, for example, a role play or presentation, a poster with images and text, a song, or they could explain it in writing. This could be done individually, in a pair, or in a larger group. Because you have offered variety and choice, learners are more likely to be more engaged in the process, remember the difference between the present and past tenses better, and produce something that demonstrates their understanding well. As long as you have observed who does what if the class is working in groups, you will gain a good knowledge of your learners' understanding, and importantly, you can use this information to plan their next learning activities. In summary, if we are going to teach inclusively, using inclusive pedagogies in an inclusive learning environment, then it follows that we need to assess learning inclusively as well. Assessment for learning is an effective way of doing this because it fully involves learners and can be differentiated to provide variety and choice. And our top tip? It's keeping those key questions in mind and thinking about them creatively. How can my learners show what they have learned? Can everyone in the class show their learning?